to talk a little bit about my background with plants because Nika is the queen of plants in Chicago. She's the queen of plants in America, as far as I'm concerned. She is all the things. She is everything. But before we talk to Nika, I want to just say that my experience with plants dates back to when I grew up as a child with a mom that had plants everywhere, all over our condo. And I grew up in Hyde Park, which is a neighborhood in Chicago, right over next to the lake, across the street from the Museum of Science and Industry. And, you know, the whole environment of Hyde Park, especially in the summertime, was lush and full of lots of nature and lots of trees. And the condos in Hyde Park are like vintage condos. There's like beautiful windows and solariums, and everybody had plants when I was growing up. And my mom was the same. She had tons of plants. And so I grew up looking at lots of green things, and we didn't have pets, but she did have a turtle. And in the turtle bowl, there were plants. There's, you know what I mean? Eventually, my mom moved on to growing corn and strawberries. We moved out of Hyde Park. She moved us to the Beverly neighborhood in Chicago, which was very traumatic for me because we went from, you know, beautiful, culturally competent, integrated, philosophical community to very blue collar Beverly, but huge yard. And she grew corn and strawberries and maintained flowers. And she even planted 2 trees, an apple tree and a peach tree. So, you know, I always grew up seeing this nature. And it's interesting because when I decided to get married and have children, I moved to the least natural place on the planet, like there, which is, you know, living in the west side of Chicago in the Ukrainian Village area on a major street where there's no frontage to actually plant a tree. But I did create a backyard for myself and my family. But it's just really interesting because since I have met Nika, I've really been drawn into this community of plants and Black people and plants. And that's why I'm pretty excited about Nika. So she is the founder of Nika Vaughan. She has almost 20 years of experience in the beauty industry and noticed that clients kept trying to buy her plants from her studio. Her biggest indulgences are shopping for beauty products and plants, and she loved the idea of being able to do both at the same time. The Plant Salon is a lush, calming boutique, is the perfect place to focus on the beauty rituals we indulge in ourselves and our plants. And you know what? At Burke Creative, we support indie brands anyway who specialize in all kinds of amazing things. And so does Nika. She specializes in natural clay masks, hand soaps, and amazing oils. There's just so much going on at Plant Salon Chicago. So Nika, welcome to the Honest Field Guide podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad. So listen, before we get to talk about your professional trajectory, right? I want to know, where did you grow up and were you always in touch with nature?
Oh, not like how probably, you know, when people say that, like nothing like hippy dippy. I'm from Southern Ohio originally, like Dayton, Ohio, Columbus, not Columbus, even further south than Columbus, but Dayton and Delaware, Ohio. This teeny little town. And you do have lots of like rivers and ravines. And I think at a certain point when your parents get the opportunity to deposit you like outside, like mine were quick to being like, yeah, go outside, go find something to do. So I did, you know, I did like, you know, kid stuff, make mud pies and things. But my mom was always a gardener and my grandmother was a big gardener. She had this huge double lot garden back in New York. And so my mom always had house plants and things. And then when we lived in different houses, she, you know, had the big gardens. She tried to grow cotton as like a political statement. Because she was kind of wild.
Let's do that.
Yeah, you know what? And we did. We got one little ball. She said we wouldn't have been good. We wouldn't have been good back in the day. They couldn't have used us.
Back in the day, right?
But no, it was very like, you know, accessible is how I think that always stuck with me, how accessible plants can be. And, you know, when I went off to college, I remember I got my first little apartment and I went to Home Depot and I bought 3 of these huge ficus trees. They're called like weeping ficus or Benjamina ficus. And they're the kind that shed everywhere. They just drop leaves if you look at them the wrong way. And I had 3 of them in my house because I was like, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that's just kind of, I kept going from there.
So, it sounds like you were not quite on a traditional life path as a little girl. I mean, I feel like you grew up around your grandmother and mother who were surrounded by nature and plants and growing things with their hands, right? I mean, there's other entrepreneurs I talk to and they talk about their mothers who were always in the kitchen. It sounds like your mother and grandmother were always outside. Did you sort of the seeds, no pun intended, were they sown when you were younger and saying, I'm gonna, you put them in a compartment in your brain and then, watched all this happen as a little kid and you're just like, I'm never going to leave nature. I'm always going to have it. I mean, you said you did it in college, but I don't know that you necessarily thought you were going to be doing what you're doing today. So what was happening when you were little? I mean, I just love the black girl growing up story. We all have to hear it because we all have one.
No, I mean, I think I was always an entrepreneur. And I think I saw working with your hands and, my mom was an artist. And I think I saw the act of how you could be contracted to work with your hands and create, and it leads to commerce. It has value.
Wow.
I learned that really young. I think my very first business, that was a horrible business. I think I was like in 3rd grade and we had a cherry tree in our front yard, but they're called like baking cherries, which means they're just horrible cherries. They're just not edible. Really, they're just bitter cherries. And I was like, I can sell these cherries. My mother's like, no one is going to buy these nasty cherries from you. And I was like, I can sell these. And I had a radio flyer wagon. And I remember I had a little suit jacket and I got produce bags from the grocery store. And I picked these sticky, horrible cherries off our tree and went and was like, who in our neighborhood goes to church with us?
Oh my God.
And she's like, you have no shame. And I was like, no, they're going to love it. They're going to. And you know what I mean? Because in my mind, it was like, who is inclined to listen to me? I'll start there. But that to me is what working with your hands and outdoors, all the art my mom did leaned towards being, it tended to be more functional. Like she was a hand spinner and a knitter and a weaver. So it was kind of this idea that you can sell this as beautiful, you can sell this as functional. And I liked that, plants was just another way to do that.